this this chapter is very helpful for our part B program, and some of the concepts are very difficult. Okay, so what I suggest everyone here is please concentrate on this chapter. You can expect one question, and the part of that question I will explain once we get into that. Okay, so some concepts are a little difficult compared to the previous sessions. Okay, and I'm not going to execute a theory part, a program part here. So directly explanation and more knowledge you will get in the part B program. Okay, now how to write and reduce the assembly code. So writing, you already know how you have wrote. There was one area keyword, then name of the area like VBH, factorial, etc. you have used. Then you have wrote a code, read only, entry, start, some operations. So that is what assembly code. So you know that lab programs, all the lab programs so far we have executed, and also Sushma, mute. I'm getting disturbance. Okay, so optimizing here, meaning of optimizing is how to reduce the number of instructions. So if we reduce, work should not be affected. Okay, so that's what. So we'll go with the concepts one by one. So writing assembly code. Before we could go for writing assembly code, actually in this chapter you already did, just as a part of a syllabus we are studying. Okay, see, I took one C program in which there is a main program here, main. So one parameter I, so then one for loop I0 to I less than 10, that means 9. So what it will print? It will print for every I, its corresponding square. For I0, 0 square is 0. For I1, 1 square is 1. For I2, 2 square is 4. 3, 9. 4, 16. 5, 25. 6, 36. Like that, 9, 81. But who is calculating this square is, it's this function UDF, user defined function called square, SQUARE, with a parameter of I. So whatever is I presently, that value is passed. So directly we are not calculating here like I star I. Instead we are calling one UDF. That UDF will definition is here. You can see this part, second part. So how it is working? Square. So whatever is I you have passed as a parameter, called by value method. So that is copied for I. No change in the value, hence it is directly parameter is passed. So what this square function will return is, it will calculate I into I. It will give back the answer to whoever it has been called by. So since it is called by main here, so it will return the answer for the main, hence the square is also return int. Okay, so like this the program works. So same program in a shortest format, we are not taking limits like lesser than 10, greater than 10, just we are concentrating on how the square is working. So we'll write one area. Okay, so you know this area, and what do you mean by code and read only? You know, code means this part of a program has only executable instructions, no values, no data. So read only, we are not going to write any of the data. Okay, so call a function called square, export square, that means call a UDF. So where is square is there? Square is here. So same value multiplied, that is going to store it in second another variable I into I. So we will get here I into I, that value I am going to copy into R1. So next R1 I am going to copy into R1. Leave about this portion. Okay, here this line is important, R0 and R1. So we can write this program in different way. One program we have already seen in your tomorrow you are going to see how the lookup table will work. Same program. That's why I took this same program. Okay, so more about this concept you are getting in the very next lab. So here, whatever we write in our C program, yes, it is possible to write in assembly. But what is the important thing here? I can assume I, J, K, L, M, N, O, or I1, I2, I3 up to I100 like that. But I cannot assume R1 to R25, R36, R88 like that. So I have a limit R0 to R12 is the last. So we should be very careful with assembly when we are writing. And also I cannot write first and then multiply first here somewhere area in the bottom. No, we have to follow some rules. So all the rules you already know, like you have to leave a space here. Okay, then you have to write entry start, then you have to write I mean R0, R1, R again R0. Why what should be the arrangement, everything you know, the same rules try to apply to over here. Okay, so here is the concept how to write a program. So now the question is every C program possible to write in assembly? Yes, it is possible. Okay, so we have plenty of assembly program examples. So around 10 programs I have given from the chapter 3, and 4 to 5 lab programs you have finished. Those all are possible to write in C program as well as you have already wrote in assembly. So, okay, that is what small concept. Let's go for 6.2. That's a very two definitions: profiling and cycle counting. Now, meaning is how much time process is executed, how much time process is executed, or how much time CPU is executed. CPU executed one task. Okay, hope you are going to study almost same concepts in your operating system. So one process burst time, another process burst time used different algorithms, almost a similar concept. Okay, so now what do you mean by cycle counting? First I will give this definition. Cycle counting means activity done by a profiler, activity done by a profiler. So now what do you mean by profiler? Profiler is, it's a tool to use and to count cycles used by a routine, used by a routine. Or you can also add one thing, instruction. You can also add word instruction. So very simple way, how much time I took a class, how much time next subject class will be engaged, so how much time third subject class will be engaged, someone will be monitoring, that is called as profiler. Okay, how much time I took is a cycle counting. So these two are same meaning, words. Cycle counting is a work, who is going to do is profiler. So what is profiling? Counting a time. So what about what it will count? It will count how much time a process has executed. Okay, so now comes very important. Okay, from this you can expect one question, this instruction scheduling. From this you can expect a question for about 6 to 8 marks in this chapter. Only this is my this is only the possibility according to my knowledge, this part. Okay, so please concentrate. So now first I will give heading meaning instruction scheduling. So what you did in your operating system is process scheduling. Process scheduling, same way we have instruction scheduling. I repeat, same way we have instruction scheduling. Here we don't follow any standard algorithm, because in assembly it depends upon every instruction how it works. So there are many algorithms like first come first serve, shortest job, shortest remaining time, round robin, etc. So here we have some standard assumptions. Based upon these assumptions we have to take one or two examples. Those also in my knowledge, in the examination they are not going to give us very new or a different program. They may refer the textbook and same program or problem they are going to give us. Okay, so and also this is helpful for your 6 sem or 7 sem one subject, that's the advanced computer architecture. Okay, so do remember it. Now, so instruction scheduling means preparing a timetable. Instruction means what? One after another instructions. Okay, so activities. So if I write one program, there are 10 one move, another multiply, another addition, subtraction, those are called as instructions. There is one special instruction called as no operation, that is also one instruction. So meaning is what? What all we studied in our so far classes, like arithmetic instruction, logical instruction, compare, branch, load, store, these all are called as instructions. And how much time each will take, that, and how much time when we have to execute, what is the advantage, what is the, sorry, what are the problems, and what is the easiness of executing individual such instructions we are going to study in this concept. Okay, so please concentrate, and you have to remember these values whichever are in a red color. Okay, so arithmetic and logical instructions. Okay, so I would have not typed ALU, I mean U, I would have typed only AL. Anyway, since all instructions execute in a ALU, so I will write the AL. Arithmetic instructions are means what? Plus, minus, star, division. Excluding star. Star is different. That's why I'm mentioning in the last point again. Okay, plus, minus, star, division. Logical or, logical and, logical or, and XOR. They all will take one CPU cycle. You have to remember, if there are two addition, okay, go on answering the chat box. If there are two additions, to add instructions one after another, okay, so one cycle for one add, another cycle for another add, so totally two add instructions equal to two CPU cycles. So if there is one addition, one OR, one exclusive OR, and one subtraction, so totally four arithmetic instructions, hence four CPU cycles. Like this we have to remember. Is it clear now? Okay. Everyone will easily calculate this, but this is slightly difficult. Okay. See, if we have a load and store instructions, it will take n CPU cycles. Now the question, n means what? Whether it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 25. So it depends upon the size. So see here, 32 bits means it will take a minimum of 2 or 4 seconds. 2 CPU cycles or 4 CPU cycles. Why? I will show once we go for the this one what part explanation part with the program. Okay, so if, and also we have one more set of load and store. Load register with a byte, load register with a half, store register from the byte, store register of half will take 1. So now can anybody answer if LDRB, LDRH, STRB, STRH will take a 1 CPU cycle, then who will take n CPU cycle? Can anybody answer in the chat box? If LDRB, LDRH, STRB, STRH will take a 1 CPU cycle for each, who will take more than 1, which we call it as a n? Who will take? Can anybody remember different versions of load and store? Load and store, different, what are remaining load and store subcategories? Let me type 1 so that you can recall. LDM, that means load multiple. STM, even LDR and STR. No suffixes like LDRS, LDRB or LDRH, STRB or STRH. Here B and H, if they are no suffix, then they will take n CPU cycles. If there is a suffix called BH, then it will reduce to 1 CPU cycle. And the next one, branch will take 3 CPU cycles. This is very important, 3 CPU cycles. Okay, next, multiply, generally it belongs to arithmetic instruction. Okay, but it takes a very different CPU cycles based upon operands. If you do, see here, whatever I will type now, 1 star 2, it's a very simple multiplication, so it may take 1 CPU cycle. If you do F 6 zeros 2 star 7 zeros and 2, which I have shown in the UMLAL, MLAL, those all instructions, there it will take a 2 CPU cycles because the operand size increased. So like that, the based upon the operand size and also the possible result size, because here F 6 zeros 2 star 7 zeros 2 is both operands are of 32 bit, but answer is of 64 bit. So definitely it would take more time to more CPU cycles. Okay, so please remember all these values. Let's go for one more step assumption before we could start on one or two program here. So see, you all know the definition of pipelining. So pipelining means ordered execution of instructions. And what are the step-by-step operations takes place is, first fetch, collect the values or the operands, decode, understand the meaning of that instruction, understand it. ALU means start execution. LS1 means load store one for load or store for the first part. Okay, why LS1 and LS2 required? I will show with the help of example. LS2 means extended version. Extended version. See, sometimes what happens, only ALU is not able to finish the execution. That time ALU second stage, ALU third stage. Okay, so those, why I will tell you. Please remember this. Okay, now once I try to explain this, you will understand it more. Okay, so now you see. So what is the instruction here? There is one program. It has only two arithmetic instructions. Only two arithmetic instructions. What are the? Addition and addition. So what I told, each instruction one CPU cycle. Why one cycle? One cycle, because it belongs to arithmetic, and also operand sizes are very small. No need to think. Only multiplication will affect. Addition is very simple, so it will take one CPU cycle for this plus another CPU cycle for instruction 2, hence totally 2 CPU cycles. So cycle count is 2. Is it clear? Is it clear? This part, this program you will not get in examination. For your knowledge purpose I am telling. Okay, anyone do reply in the chat box if it is clear. So I'll take little expanded program. Hope it is clear. Okay, now this is very important. You can expect this question in the examination, this or the very next. Second program has, okay, now do reply in the chat box. What is different here? LDR, is it LDRB, LDRH? No. If it was LDRB, LDRH, I would have calculated like one CPU cycle, another CPU cycle, total is equal to 2 CPU cycles. Because I mentioned here in the previous slide, if LDRB, LDRH is there, one I have to assume. So this line will also take one, this line will also take a one, so it is a 2. But there is no suffix for LDR, so I have to think. So how it works? So there is one. Okay, you remember this same program. Okay, now what happens? Now the question, what is this first operation? It's a LDR. So it is not a LDRB, not a LDRH. Then I will have to add this category LDR, sorry, load store N. Now I should be very careful. How much should be the N? Okay, so should I assume 25 or 1 or 2 or 8, etc., 4? Okay, so that I have to think how to calculate. Now you see, can anybody give this a very important answer? Is it is this instruction LDR using barrel shifter or a logical shifter operation? Yes or no? Barrel shifter is used or not used, or required or not required? Why barrel shifter is required, let me tell you, is because it is not a direct address. So first of all, LDR means what? Load a resistor R1 with, from where to load? We have to calculate R2. R2 will be given plus 4, new value, load from that, and sorry, take it from that, load onto R1, but don't change R2 because it is a pre-index offset. Pre-index offset. It is not a pre-index write back. It is not a post-index where I used to write a hash outside. Also, there is no colon exclamation mark. Hence, it is a pre-index offset. So, if it is a pre-index offset, I told in some of the theory class like a barrel shifter, before actual instruction start, it will do one work. Okay, now you see. Again, I will take a 5-stage pipeline, which we have considered here, like a fetch, decode, execute. ALU is called as execute, LS1 and LS2. Now you see, What happens? Leave about all this. I'm explaining only LDR and AD. LDR is presently executing in this diagram. You see, LDR is definitely not possible to execute in only one CPU cycle, because what, it has to calculate R2 plus 4. From there, it has to take a value and load on to R1. So activity is more. It is not a simple like take from one memory location and directly load on to register. It is first take R2, perform plus 4. From that location, you have to take. So it is a two-step work. If it is a two-step work, LDR1 is not finishes in only stage of ALU. It take help of LS1 also. So LDR is taking help of LDR, I mean ALU, in the ALU cycle count 1. It completes its work only when LS1 is completed. Hence, 2 CPU cycles minimum required for LDR itself, this instruction. So, I mean, LDR will never take only one, it will take 2. So now the question, when LDR is taking 2 CPU cycle and it has a exit from ALU and gone for LS1, is it possible to check add is completes? Let's see. Why we should check is, see this R1, which is a result from LDR, is required for addition. Are you getting now? Whatever late we are getting by one instance, that is only required, means that is compulsory for me to finish this add. So what I have to do, I cannot do add here, because R1 value I am not getting at this vertical column, I am getting here. If I am getting here, I will get here. Okay, R1 value, this R1 is not here, R1 is not present here, R1 is not present here. This R1 I will get only after LS1 finishing. So once I finish LS1, then only I will get a value of R1. Then only I can finish R0 plus R1 and storing result in the R0. Hence, 2 cycles for LDR and 1 cycle for add. Here the question, what do you mean by stall? Stall means wait. Don't think some shop or something. So it's a wait or queue. Why it is queue? Because the LDR is unable to finish only in a one time, that is called as ALU. It has to undergo for 2 stage. Since it undergone for 2 stages, okay, so definitely what happens here, in the first time LDR is unable to execute, in the second time LDR executes, but that execution results us in the third time. So if third time is there, add will be waiting for one time of instance. Hope it is clear now. You have to remember this concept and reproduce in the examination. Now the question. So if we have, now please answer why there is no stall in this program. Why there is no stall in this program? Here. Because it's a LDRB. Even though this instruction, this first instruction has R2 plus hash, R2 plus hash. It's a pre-index offset, no write back, and also post-index. It's not a post-index. Okay, I mentioned here LDRB. If it is a LDRB, it will finishes in only one execution. Okay, only one execution. Now the question, R0. What is the next instruction here? Add. Okay, add is the next instruction. What happens for add? Add will execute in next level R2, R0 plus R2. Okay, so what happens for R2? R2, if it was a colon, it would underwent for R2 plus 1 and updation. So R2 updation also require one cycle extra, So here, since we are not updating, so but what is the importance of pre-index with offset? R2 plus 1 is calculated, but R2 is not updated. I repeat, R2 plus 1 is calculated, but R2 is not updated. Only from that new location data is fetched. How much data is fetched? Byte, means 8 bits. So one CPU cycle for this. One CPU cycle for this. Okay. First instruction, one CPU cycle. Second instruction, who is the second instruction? Add. So what are the two things to add here? R0 and R2, R0 and R2. So here R0 value and R2 value. Now, very important thing. Listen carefully. Varun, don't scratch on the screen. Okay, very important thing. To perform the next XOR, is R0, who is a result of previous add, is one of the participant operand. I repeat, to perform XOR, two operands are R0 and R1. Is R1 freely available? Yes, it is freely available because it was finished very earlier here in the here R1 you will get exactly by the first end of CPU cycle, but R0 will be R0 value you will get only when add is completed. So when add will completes, it's the end of a LS1. Sorry, it's a end of a ALU in the cycle 2. Okay, what happens for cycle 3 is cycle 3 try to execute a XOR. Cycle 3 try to execute XOR. You can see here in the cycle 3 row we have a XOR, but XOR needs two values. One is R0 and another one is R1. Santosh, mute. I'm getting disturbance. Havangi. Okay. So third cycle normally a XOR will execute. I mean try to execute. But XOR needs two operands R0 and R1. R1 will be available because R1, why R1 available is because LDR is already finished. But when your result of add will get out, which was executed in a cycle 2 is at end of LS. Okay, at end of LS. So what happens again? R0 and R1, R0 and R. Because why at end of LS1 is because ultimately result of addition of R0 and R2, should it be stored in R0? My question is, are you only performing R0 plus R2, or you are performing R0 plus R2 and also storing in the R0? Hope you are getting now. At least the result of R0 and R2 addition should be stored in R0. So when that stored is possible, when it crosses over LS1. When it crosses over LS1, because it is a store. Store is done at this time. So if it is not yet stored or presently storing, I repeat, presently storing, here, how can you expect XOR completion here? Because XOR completion, when it is possible, when R0 is successfully gets result of R0 plus R2. Okay, that is applicable only when LS1 completes. So what happens here? Once LS1 completes, answer of R0 plus R2 is successfully stored on R0. So now at the start of LS2, at the time of cycle 4, ALU will execute the previous XOR. It is not a new XOR, it's the same XOR, because at this stage the storage of R0 and already stored value of R1 both are used and executed. Okay, so you can expect this question in your examination, particularly this. Okay, I repeat one more time. Since it's a LDRB, cycle 1 will execute what? LDRB. Cycle 2, it will try to execute what? This addition. So addition of what? R0 and R2. See, my question, if I write here R1, what happens? In the place of R2, if I write R1, again I have to wait, because whatever is done just before, that should be stored here in the R1. Without a storing, we cannot continue. At least one time store should happen. Okay, so luckily we don't have R1 here, so don't worry, we can start execution of add. So add is executed in cycle 2, R0 and R2. So R0 and R2 addition done. Now you are about to store it. Store means at least one time you have to finish storing. So when the result of R0 and R2 addition for about to store in R0, it is called as LS1. So who is stored in LS1 at cycle 3 is addition instruction. Okay. So now, can we go for XOR exactly at this stage? That is not possible. Why? Because R0 is not yet ready. R0 is not yet ready. So I have to wait for one more cycle. So if I wait for one more cycle, here cycle 4 will take care about execution of XOR. So here is a bubble occur like this, bubble occur. Okay, even this stall. Okay, this a XOR suffered with the stall. Okay, I hope this problem, either this problem or this same problem will be there in the examination for 5 to 6 marks for oral explanation. Okay, now let's go for one important problem, scheduling of only related to load instruction. Scheduling of load instruction. For that, author has took the same program, and I am also going with the same program explanation. So this possibly you are not going to get this question in examination, but still I'll try to cover up this. There is one user defined function called string convert into lower case. If I take capital letter A, okay, capital letter ABC, it has to convert into small letter ABC. From where to take keyboard, that's called input device. Where to show monitor. Input means keyboard, output means monitor. Now take one by one alphabet. Take one by one alphabet. Okay, so it's a temp buffer. See now, star of input plus plus. Input means what? Keyboard. So until you go on hitting a key one after another key, one after another key. Now what you have to do? Everything you have to take it in a C variable. C variable. And now question is why it is an int? Because even though we hit alphabet A, B, C, their ASCII code is transferred, not a string or a alphabet A, B, C is there. So because of that, it's an integer. Okay. So now you take all the thing. Now the question, should I compulsorily give capital letter A to capital letter Z between A and Z? Yes, because my question is, problem definition is I have to give capital letters. I have to get back small letters. So what is the care I have to check? I should not enter lesser than A and greater than Z. Why lesser than A and greater than Z is, I hope you all know the ASCII code of a capital letter and small letters of A, B, C and all. Okay, capital letter A is 65 and capital letter Z is 97. Okay, 90. I'm sorry, 90. So anything you type like a yum, sorry, capital yum, capital P, those all will be between 65 to 90. That we are checking. If yes, then only input is correct. If you give 22, it is not capital A to capital Z. If you give 105, some ASCII code of 105, it is not in lesser than capital Z. So you should give between 65 to 90. That is what the single quote meaning. 65 to 90 means capital in between capital A to capital Z. Okay, now since we are converting it from high level, class 1, that means capital to lower letters. Again, I will give you the value of lower letters of small a is 97, small b is 98, and small z is 122. 122. Okay. Now, so small letter has highest code than capital letter. Small letter has highest code than capital letter. So now assume I have given capital A as an input, capital A. What is its number? I repeat, capital A number is 65. Is 65 here? 65, 66, 67, because I have given capital A, capital B, capital C. 65, 66, 67. Okay, they are in the range of 65 to 90. Yes, if condition is correct. If condition is correct. Then present C is what? One by one alphabet, 65. Okay, so small a is what? 97 minus 65. 97 minus 65, it is a 32. Okay, 32 plus 65. 32 plus 65. 32 plus 65. What is the answer? 32 plus 65. 32 plus 65. It's a 97. So assign that 97 to C. And whatever is C, that you convert into character. See here, typecasting. 97 in character conversion becomes small letter A. Okay, small letter A. I hope, please Google out the table, ASCII code values, write in your on the paper and apply over here for capital A, capital B, capital C. Go for this mathematical difference function, and you will get to know. Okay, please trace this program, because I am not executing this program on Keel software. Because since it is an interface program, it will be difficult, and we are executing in part B of our lab. Okay, so it's a C code. Is it possible to write in our assembly? Yes, there is a subroutine called str underscore to lower, convert into lower. So take, see this R bracket R1 means keyboard. Bracket R1 means keyboard. Take one alphabet and its ASCII code. Sorry, it is the address of keyboard. Take one alphabet from keyboard. Its ASCII code you copy into R2. Its ASCII code you copy into R2. Then you increment, because you are not going to stop collecting the data only after one signal called capital A. You are about to collect capital B. You are about to collect capital C. For that reason, post index offset. Okay, post index offset address. Now the question, whatever you take here, whatever you take LDRB, that here address, result of LDRB is address, result of LDRB is participant of sub. I repeat, result of LDRB is participant of very next. Hence, stall will occur. Stall will occur. I told you here the case. Result of previous, here R0, is a participant of very next. Hence, stall will occur. If stall occurs, we will get 1 for LDRB, this plus 1 for LDRB, 2 for this memory fetch, 2 for this memory fetch. Hence, total CPU cycles by very first instruction is 3. 1 for LDRB, because it's a byte, 2 for the stall, 2 for the stall. So total 3. Now you see, subtract, compare, addition, string compare, string byte, okay, and comparison. These all will take 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so far is 8. Now we have instruction called branch. We'll take a 3. Hence, up to this much 8. 8 plus 3, 11. So it will take a 11 CPU cycles. Okay, 11 CPU cycles. How this line work? Don't worry. Okay, just if possible, you try to remember, or else in the next session, I will try to explain the code, how it works. Okay, so please give your attendance, and I will put a message for your CR Sharath. He will forward you after this class. Give your answer, USN.